Hello Zenith women, and welcome to the channel. The people constantly posting about their perfect lives are the reasons why Sigma females truly don't fear death. Their lives running from the inevitable, clinging to routines, relationships, and illusions of control. But not Sigma females. They don't tremble at the thought of the unknown, they stare it down with a smirk. Here's a fact. Studies show that fear of death is highest among those who seek external validation and societal approval. In other words, the people constantly posting about their perfect lives are often the ones most terrified of losing them. Sigma females? They never needed validation to begin with. While the world anxiously avoids the topic, they embrace it with an almost unnerving calm. Not because they're reckless, not because they're emotionless, but because they understand something others don't. Death isn't the enemy. Fear is. And if you think that's unsettling, wait until you see the reasons why Sigma females truly don't fear death. Number 1. They've already walked through hell. Most people fear death because they don't flinch, because they've already met despair. Nerves others. They don't cling to life out of that breaks most people, yet they're still standing. They've been betrayed by people they trusted, abandoned when they needed support, and forced to navigate life with no safety net. They know what it means to suffer in silence, to rebuild from nothing, and to fight battles no one even knows about. Most people fear death because they've never truly suffered. They've lived in comfort, in predictable cycles, clinging to relationships and routines that shield them from the raw, unforgiving side of life. Sigma females don't have that luxury. They've been thrown into chaos, forced to figure things out alone, and left with nothing but their own resilience. They've had to become their own saviors, their own sources of strength. So when death eventually comes knocking, they don't flinch, because they've already met despair and they beat it. The fear of death is rooted in the fear of loss, losing comfort, relationships, a sense of identity. But what happens when you've already lost everything? When you've already faced the kind of loneliness and hardship that makes death seem almost peaceful? Sigma females don't romanticize suffering, but they do recognize that it strips away illusions. It makes them fearless in a way that unnerves others. They don't cling to life out of fear because they've already been to the edge and looked down. And unlike most people, they didn't turn away in terror. They stood there, faced it, and walked forward anyway. Number 2. They understand the power of transcends. Each time, they emerge to something sharper, evolve. And when you've already died, what she knows is this. Is their nature. They've shed old versions of themselves, walked away from identities that no longer served them, and rebuilt from the ground up more times than they can count. They've lost friendships, outgrown environments, and walked alone through phases of complete transformation. Each time, they emerge to something sharper, wiser, and more untouchable. Most people fear death because they fear change. They cling to stability, to the version of themselves they've carefully constructed, terrified of losing control. But Sigma females, they've let go of control a long time ago. They've embraced the unpredictable, the unknown, and the destruction that comes before rebirth. They don't mourn what they used to be. They evolve. And when you've already died metaphorically, killed off parts of yourself that no longer fit, physical death loses its power over you. To a Sigma female, existence isn't confined to one body, one story, or one lifetime. She doesn't believe in endings, only shifts in form and perspective. Whether that means energy continuing in another state, or simply leaving behind an impact that ripples beyond her lifetime, she's not concerned with the specifics. What she knows is this. She was never meant to remain static. So why fear the final transformation? While others beg for more time, desperately trying to hold on to what they know, Sigma females stand unshaken. They have already become someone new countless times, and when the time comes, they'll do it again, without fear, without hesitation, without looking back. Number 3. They don't have blind faith, function without guarantees. They don't need to believe in a reward after death. They live fully, reality. And when death comes, they waste energy fearing oblivion. Hope is a crutch for those who need reassurance. Sigma females? They don't need comfort, they need truth. And the truth is simple: no one knows what happens after death, and that uncertainty doesn't shake them. What sets them apart is their ability to function without guarantees. They don't need to believe in a higher power watching over them, or a cosmic safety net waiting on the other side. Their strength doesn't come from faith, it comes from themselves. They've relied on their own willpower to push through life's worst moments, so why would death be any different? While others fear the unknown because it strips them of control, Sigma females thrive in uncertainty. They don't wait for divine intervention, nor do they live cautiously in hopes of securing a reward after death. They live fully, fearlessly, on their own terms. People who fear death often do so because they've spent their lives depending on something external, faith, rules, validation, to give their existence meaning. Sigma females don't seek meaning, they create it. Their strength isn't borrowed from belief systems, ancient texts, or comforting myths. It's built from their own resilience, their own ability to survive, adapt, and dominate their own reality. And when death comes, they won't beg for more time or plead for salvation. They'll meet it with the same unshakable willpower that carried them through life. Because in the end, they never needed anything outside themselves to begin with. Number 4. They are not chained to the human. How can you fear leaving a world you were never? It's that they see life differently. They won't resist, panic, or bargain for mortals, expectations, or illusions that keep others bound. While most people anchor their identities in careers, relationships, and social roles, Sigma females remain detached, never mistaking any of it for their true essence. This detachment makes them uniquely immune to the fear of death. How can you fear leaving a world you were never fully a part of to begin with? For most, death is terrifying because it represents an end to their carefully constructed lives, their possessions, their status. But Sigma females have never been defined by these things. They don't belong to any group, ideology, or belief system that dictates how they should live or die. While others cling desperately to their humanity, they operate on a different level, one that isn't ruled by the same primal fears. It's not that they're emotionless, it's that they see life differently. They know this existence is temporary, that identity itself is fluid, and that attachment is the root of fear. Most people are terrified of losing what they have because they've spent their entire lives believing it defines them. Sigma females know better. They know they are more than a job, a name, a body. They know that whatever comes after this life, whether it's something or nothing, has no bearing on who they are. So when death approaches, they won't resist, panic, or bargain for more time. They'll meet it with the same calm they've carried through life, because deep down, they were never truly confined to this world in the first place. Number 5. They're not programmed for fear. They don't blindly accept the programming forced upon acts and limits, so they discard it like dead of them. Instead, they move through life with the kind of worst-case scenarios, and religion warns them of punishment beyond the grave. Most people absorb these fears without question, living their lives in a constant state of avoidance, afraid of aging, afraid of risk, afraid of the inevitable. Sigma females, they reject all of it. They don't blindly accept the programming forced upon them. They question everything, including fear itself. If something is inevitable, why waste energy dreading it? Death is not an option to be avoided, it's the only guarantee. And while others spend their time pretending they have control over it, Sigma females strip fear of its power by acknowledging reality as it is. This isn't recklessness, it's logic. Fear has never served them. It only weakens, distracts, and limits. So they discard it like dead weight. They don't let fear dictate their choices, and they certainly don't let it haunt their final moments. Unlike those who spend their lives building walls around themselves in a desperate attempt to feel safe, Sigma females understand that real strength comes from embracing the truth. Fear changes nothing. The world is full of people terrified of things they'll never escape: aging, loss, death. Sigma females refuse to be one of them. Instead, they move through life with the kind of fearless clarity that unsettles others. They don't need comforting illusions. They don't beg for extra time. And when death finally arrives, it won't find them cowering. It will find them standing tall, unimpressed, and ready. Number 6. They see weakness in clinging to risks, playing it safe, and making decisions based on their own terms. They'd rather burn brightly for don't be the ones begging for a few more years. They don't understand or respect those who cling desperately to life at all costs, grasping at every possible way to extend their time on earth without ever truly living. To them, that isn't strength. It's fear in its purest form. They've seen people spend their entire lives avoiding risks, playing it safe, and making decisions based on fear of death rather than desire for life. They've watched as people hoard money they'll never spend, stay in jobs they hate just to feel secure, and tiptoe through life trying to cheat an end that will come no matter what. Sigma females want no part of that. They know that a long, fearful existence is no victory. If avoiding death becomes the goal, then life itself is already lost. Instead, they live on their own terms. They'd rather burn brightly for a short time than wither away in hesitation. They make bold choices, walk away from anything that stifles them, and refuse to let fear dictate their path. They don't waste time obsessing over how to extend their days. They focus on making every single one of them matter. To them, the real tragedy isn't dying too soon. It's reaching the end and realizing they never truly lived. That's why, when their time comes, they won't be the ones begging for a few more years. They'll go without regrets, without desperation, because they made every moment count. And that's the only kind of life worth having. Number 7, they don't play by the rules. Another set of rules meant to control people, trying to outsmart the inevitable. Instead, they count, and when it's over, walk away without fear. This is over cheating aging, extending life, and preparing for an afterlife that no one can prove exists. Sigma females refuse to play along. They see the desperation in people clinging to youth, chasing immortality, and fearing the unknown. To them, it's all just another illusion, another set of rules meant to control people. And if there's one thing Sigma females don't do, it's follow rules they never agreed to. Most people are terrified of death because they spend their lives running from it. They pour money into anti-aging treatments, chase spiritual promises of eternal life, or convince themselves they have more time than they actually do. Sigma females don't need these distractions. They don't beg for more years, nor do they waste the ones they have trying to outsmart the inevitable. Instead, they live fully without fear, without hesitation. They don't pretend they're above death. They just refuse to let it control them. They won't be found obsessing over how to extend their time on earth or bargaining with unseen forces for a few more years. Death will come when it comes, and they'll meet it with the same unshakable defiance that carried them through life. Because at the end of the day, the only real rule Sigma females live by is this: make every moment count, and when it's over, walk away without fear. Number 8. They reject society's fears or shape their reality. They see through the manipulation or endless worry. Sigma females can control their actions, their mindsets, or punishments in the afterlife. Governments use fear to enforce control, and the media bombards people with images of danger, disease, and catastrophe. The message is always the same: be afraid. But Sigma females, they don't buy into it. They refuse to let fear dictate their choices or shape their reality. They see through the manipulation, how fear of death is used to keep people obedient, passive, and desperate for security. They watch as others trade freedom for comfort, following rules they don't question and living cautiously in hopes of avoiding the inevitable. Sigma females want no part of that. They'd rather think for themselves, challenge the narratives, and live by their own philosophy. While others let the fear of death push them into blind faith, submissive obedience, or endless worry, Sigma females stand firm. They know fear is a weapon, one designed to keep people in line. But they've spent their lives resisting control, rejecting expectations, and forging their own paths. Death doesn't intimidate them because they've already dismantled the systems designed to make them fear it. They don't waste time obsessing over what happens after they die, nor do they let fear shape the way they live. Instead, they focus on what they can control: their actions, their mindset, and the legacy they leave behind. And that's why, when the time comes, they won't be found trembling or begging for more time. They'll meet the unknown on their own terms, just like they've done with everything else. Number 9. They've conquered the ability to understand and accept. From the outside, this deep understanding of solitude meet it with the same quiet strength that has carried them through and the lack of someone to witness their final moments. But for Sigma females, loneliness is nothing new. It's a state they've navigated most of their lives, and they've learned to embrace it rather than fear it. Loneliness isn't a curse to them. It's a companion they've come to understand and accept. From the outside, it might seem like loneliness weighs heavily on them. But the truth is, Sigma females have mastered the art of solitude. They've spent years living independently, walking their own path, and growing comfortable in their own company. Where others seek constant connection and validation, they've learned to thrive in their own space. They don't need others to fill the gaps in their lives because they know how to do it themselves. This deep understanding of solitude changes how they view death. While the majority of people fear the idea of being alone at the end of their lives, Sigma females see it as a natural extension of the way they've always lived. Death to them is just another solitary journey. They've already walked through the depths of their own minds, faced their demons, and come out stronger on the other side. So when the time comes to walk into the unknown alone, they won't be afraid. They'll meet it with the same quiet strength that has carried them through the loneliness of life. They've never relied on others to give their lives meaning, and they certainly won't start now. Death is just another phase of the solo journey they've been on all along. And for Sigma females, that's not something to fear. It's something to accept with grace and confidence. Number 10. They see themselves as a force, and that force is defined by their impact, their idea of them. That's what defines them, not the temper. They don't cling to life because of their body. They live different perspective. They understand something fundamental. What makes them who they are is not bound to their physical form. They don't obsess over wrinkles, gray hairs, or the passing of time because they know their essence is something far deeper. They are not just a body. They are a force. And that force is defined by their impact, their ideas, and the way they move through the world. For Sigma females, life is not about preserving the physical vessel. It's about leaving a mark that transcends biology. They don't fear aging or death because they recognize that their true self is not contained within their skin. It's in their mind, their energy, and their legacy. The work they do, the thoughts they provoke, the influence they have on the people and world around them. That's what defines them, not the temporary shell they inhabit. While others fear the loss of physical beauty or vitality, Sigma females view their body as just a vehicle for their mind and spirit. Their real power lies in the way they think, the way they create, and the way they challenge the status quo. They know that once the body fades, the impact they've made, the ideas they've shared, and the energy they've radiated will remain long after they're gone. They don't cling to life because of their body. They live because of the force they embody. And when death comes, they know they will never truly disappear. The body might be left behind, but the force they unleashed will live on in ways that transcend biology, forever impacting the world they've touched. In the end, the Sigma females' approach to death is cling to, but by what they let go of, longer on the other side. They understand that they're the ones who make every moment count, knowing that it only scratched the surface of their incredible strength, resilience. Button, join the revolution, and let's keep exploring what it is. To them, death is not a villain to be avoided, but a natural part of the cycle they've already accepted, understood, and in many ways embraced. Their lives are defined not by what they cling to, but by what they let go of. They are more than their bodies, more than the transient world they navigate. They are forces, ideas, and legacies in motion. While most are paralyzed by the unknown, Sigma females confront it with unwavering strength, not because they're immune to fear, but because they've learned that fear is simply a distraction. They've seen the worst of life, walked through loneliness, chaos, and despair, and emerged stronger on the other side. They understand that real power comes from living truthfully on their own terms, free from society's expectations and the controlling grasp of fear. And when death comes knocking, it finds them not cowering or scrambling for more time, but standing tall, poised and prepared to take the next step into whatever lies beyond. Sigma females are the ones who refuse to be defined by the fleeting nature of existence. They are the ones who make every moment count, knowing that it's not how long you live, but how you live that matters. They won't be the ones wasting their lives hiding from death. They will be the ones who walk into it without regret, without hesitation, because they've spent their entire lives living on their own terms, and that's the ultimate victory. If you've resonated with the fearless mindset of Sigma females and the way they live life without hesitation, then this is just the beginning. We've only scratched the surface of their incredible strength, resilience, and defiance. If you want more insights, more powerful perspectives, and content that challenges the status quo, make sure to subscribe to the channel. By subscribing, you're not just staying connected, you're stepping into a community that refuses to settle for the ordinary, the conventional, or the fearful. Don't miss out on the next transformative idea, the next game-changing insight. Hit that subscribe button, join the revolution, and let's keep exploring what it really means to live unapologetically, fearlessly, and on your own terms. The journey doesn't stop here. Let's take it further together.